Hello everyone, I'm Joe Ackourey, and welcome to the Fly of the Week. For this episode, episode 69, I'll be tying a Green Drake Wiggle Nymph. You see, Green Drake nymphs are a burrowing nymph and typically become active around the third week of May and lasting until the beginning of the second week of June. It's a quite large nymph, measuring over an inch long, and as they swim up to the surface, they swim up in a wiggling fashion and hatch in the surface tension. And the trout seem to pick them off as they leave their burrows and swim up. So what I like to do, I like to dead drift the nymph. And upon completion of the dead drift, I'll swim the nymph up to the surface tension. And that's typically where most of my strikes happen, upon me fishing this up to the surface. So I highly recommend you adding this jointed nymph or this articulated wiggle nymph to your arsenal. Works quite well during the Green Drake hatch or prior to the hatch. So without further ado, let's get started. All right guys, here we go. The Green Drake Wiggle Nymph. Start by placing your hook in the vise, making sure that the shank of the hook is relatively parallel with your tabletop, and begin covering the entire shank of the hook with thread. Give it a good coating, because whatever is placed on top of this hook shank the materials that you put on top of this thread base will bite in much better. And you want to stop right where the shank of the hook and the bend meet. Okay, now for the first material. The first step is placing the tails on, and the tails are going to be made out of this very webby medium ginger hackle. And I'm just going to grab maybe a 1/4 inch of fibers. I'm going to line them up as best as possible before I strip them off the feather. So that group looks fairly good. I'm going to pull these down to isolate that group, just like so. So now, using the tips of my fingers, I'm going to grab the tips of these fibers and draw down, like so. Now, the length of this tail is going to be equal to approximately 3/4 of the shank of the hook. So I just take a measurement like so, pop that in place, boom, there's where my tails are going to go. Anchor that material like so, and secure that all the way up the shank of the hook. Okay, very good. So what I want to do next is I want to take that group of fibers, those tail fibers, and lacquer them. I want to put a couple drops of my head cement and kind of really give it a good soaking, like so, and let that kind of set up for a while. I'm going to separate those in equal bunches when the glue starts to set. So now for the segmentation. The segmentation, I'm going to use a braided rod wrapping thread size A. It's yellow. I'm going to anchor that on the side of the shank of the hook. And I'm going to wrap back right to where the visible tails meet the shank of the hook. Just like that. No gaps. There cannot be any gap in between the tail and the thread or the segmentation material. All right, I'm going to put that in my material clip, and then I'm going to take my needle and prop up this mass of medium ginger tail fibers. So now I'm going to take a little bit from the one side. I'm trying to get equal bunches, and separate that from the middle group, and kind of give each tail a little spin, because it's still the tails are a little bit wet yet, which is a good thing because I could work with it a little bit easier. So then you end up with something like that. Very nicely done. They look great. And I could doctor them up a little bit later if they start to pull apart. So now for the abdomen. So I want to say this. If there's another nymph that warrants having an articulated body or an abdomen, it's definitely the Green Drake Nymph. This fly is an absolute beast in mayfly standards. This nymph measures over 1.25 inches in length. So yeah, when these guys are struggling up to swim up to the surface, there's a lot of motion going on, and this this articulated nymph that we're designing right now will closely mimic that actual emergence. So let's get started. The abdomen, I took the liberty of mixing up this olive brown fur blend, and I'm going to carefully build a nice tapered body. And this is a process. This is going to take a while because this is a good size hook. And I'm going to dub a nice noodle and just gradually take my time and build it up. It's a time consuming process, but I'm going to tell you, the end result will speak volumes, and you guys will get a good idea what I'm talking about. So just carefully build up your abdomen. And again, it's quite time consuming, but it's just part of the fly. It's going to take several applications of this fur blend. And I'm going to dub this right up to the eye. Almost to the eye, like a good 16th or 32nd from the eye. And I'm going to go back down and continue this process until I feel that it's where I need it to be. So this Green Drake Nymph typically starts emerging around the end of May and goes into the first week or so of June. These are a burrowing nymph. So if you get lucky enough to hit this hatch or find a river or stream that has this hatch, this nymph is my go-to nymph for sure. So the idea behind me placing all this material to build the abdomen is because we're going to draw out most of this material to form the gills. They have huge gills. And there's a lot of motion going on there. But we're almost done, actually, with this process. Now for the taper, I'm just going to slowly build it up. Okay, I think we're going to need just one more real fine application, and we'll be ready to put the segments on. Okay, this should do it. Yep. Okay, so in review, we have our 3 tails. We start out with one bunch, and then we, from a medium ginger hackle with a lot of webbing, we took a bunch, we lined it up, we lacquered it, and then we waited till the lacquer set a little bit, and we separated it with our dubbing needle in 3 equal bunches to form the tail. As you could see, really nice. Then we anchored our segmentation material, which is a yellow segmentation material, rod wrapping thread size A. And then we started building our nice tapered abdomen. So now for the actual segmentation. We're going to take this rod wrapping thread and make, I'd say probably 8 or 9 equally spaced segments. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then tie that off. So once that's anchored, I like to pull it back and secure it a little bit more. It adds to the durability of this fly, and you don't want the segmentation to separate. Okay, now for the finishing knot. We're going to tie our knot, because this abdomen is mostly done. Very good. So we pretty much have the profile that I'm looking for. And now we're going to bring this abdomen to life. So with my sharp dubbing needle, I'm going to carefully draw out the fibers or the fur blend in between the segmentation. And it's a little bit of a process, but you know, just take your time and work through it. Okay, that side is looking good. Now for your side. And just work your way up carefully. Try not to hit that segmentation, especially if your needle is as sharp as this one. Okay. So now I'm just going to kind of comb this fur blend out a little bit, get rid of the loose stuff. And there you go. Looking really good, guys. Looking really good. So there is the completed abdomen. Now for the thorax. I'm going to place this abdomen on the tabletop here and grab my hook for the abdomen, or the thorax. The thorax hook is much shorter. And again, it's just the same process pretty much. We're going to cover the entire shank of the hook with thread, like so. Again, I'm going to give it a good coating because I want the materials that are laid upon this thread foundation to bite in. It's better to have materials bite into a thread foundation than a bare hook. So there you have it. We stopped right where the shank of the hook meets the bend. Now, to anchor this abdomen that we just finished to this thorax, I like to use, and to make that articulation, I have access to stainless steel braided wire, and that's what I use. You can easily get away with 8 or 10 pound monofilament. So, you know, use what you like. I'm going to attach this stainless steel wire on top of the shank of the hook. Incidentally, this stuff has never failed me, so, you know, I'm not really worried about it breaking on a big fish. Just make sure you anchor it good so it doesn't slip on you. So once it's anchored, I'm going to clip off this excess, and I always use the back of my scissors to cut, never the tip, because you could damage the tips of your scissors very easily. And to helicopter this off is almost impossible because it'd take me a half hour to helicopter it off. So I'm going to use the back of my scissors and just pop it off. Push down that excess just in case, because it'll cut the thread as you're wrapping. All right, so now we have that done. So now I'm going to attach the completed abdomen to this articulated material I'm using here. I'm going to first have to clip off the back of the hook here. I want to clip that clean. I don't know if you guys can see that. I hope you can. So that's gone. Then I'm actually going to cut this wire a little bit shorter so I can work with it using the back of my scissors. And I'm going to take this body and place the abdomen right on top and put the articulated wire that I'm using here, the wire that I'm going to use for the articulation, in just like so. And just going to make sure that all looks good and lined up. I'm going to give it just a little bit more room here to wiggle. So I'm going to pull back on the fly just so I'm not binding it. And then I'm just going to attach it. Lock it down, just like so. So, and then ride that thread all the way up the shank of the thorax. Again, I'm going to clip off this wire. Push down that piece. And there you have it. That's the connection point between the abdomen and the thorax, and it's looking really sweet. Can't wait to finish this fly. So, the first step to tying the thorax is the wing case. And for the wing case material, I'm going to use wild turkey tail feather. So it's widely known that as mayflies are prior to hatching, the mayfly wing cases get very dark. And this wild turkey tail feather is a great representation of a dark wing case for this particular species of mayfly. So I'm going to measure about 3/4 of the gap of the hook and cut off a section from this wild turkey feather, tail feather. There's my piece. And we're going to call this the cut end because I just cut it. This is the natural end. This is the side that the turkey shows us. This is the underside. I'm going to attach this tail feather section with the natural end, or natural face, facing down, and the underside facing up, obviously, and then just attach it by the natural end. And I'm going to wrap it back, making sure that I do not see any thread underneath this section, which I don't, just the articulated portion of the material I use for the articulation process, the stainless steel wire. And I'm going to fasten this all the way up, this wing case material. So there you have it. So now in review, we have our completed abdomen. We put our 3 tails on. We built our body up using this olive brown fur blend that I mixed up, which closely, resembles the natural. We placed our segmentation material, and then we drew out the gills. These Green Drake nymphs have amazing gills, big, stringy gills, and this what I did by using my dubbing needle to draw out the fibers, the fur blend in between the segments worked out really well. Looks really good. Then we attach that abdomen to the thorax with our stainless steel wire. And now we're building the thorax. We started out by attaching our turkey feather, which is very dark brown, resembling a mayfly nymph just prior to emergence. They get very dark, the wing cases. And now we're going to attach our legs. For our legs, we're going to use a medium ginger hackle as well. This one is not webby, or not as webby as the we use for the tails. So I'm going to expose the stem of the feather by drawing some of these fibers down and pulling them off. And there's our stem. This feather has a natural curve to it. It can curve up, down, left, right. I want you to tie it in with the natural curve going down and over the fly. And I'm going to attach it to my side of the hook shank for the thorax. Okay. Clip off your excess and return your thread up against the wing case. So now let's repeat the process just like we did when we built up the abdomen. We're going to use our olive brown fur blend. We're going to start dubbing a nice thorax, which is going to be noticeably thicker than the abdomen. So I'm going to apply some heavier fur blend noodles here. There's going to be a couple of them, and we're just going to take our time and build this up. A little heavy there. Okay. I don't want you to crowd the eye. There we go. And that's application number 1. It's probably going to take 3 or 4. Okay. So yeah, this pattern is a lively pattern, and it has definitely enhanced my fishing during this Green Drake hatch. And I believe it's from the characteristics of this articulated body. I really do. I mean, it has definitely helped. I mean, these are big nymphs, and they're struggling to get out of the surface tension, and there's a lot of commotion going on, and I believe that this helps a lot. Okay, we're almost there. Get a little bit thicker. So adding this nymph to your arsenal, what I'm saying is I like fishing the life cycle of this fly, the nymph. And this kind of resembles an emerger too, because I dead drift this nymph just like I would do it any other nymph. And then upon completion of the dead drift, what I do is jig it up to the surface. And I've had some terrific strikes when I was jigging it up. So you got your nymph / emerger. You fish the dun. I use a comparadun for that, a hackled version of a comparadun and just a regular comparadun. And I also like fishing the extended body Green Drake coffin flyer or the spinner stage. So fishing this whole life cycle, you can capitalize on catching fish throughout the life cycle, and it's just great. So now I'm going to take this hackle and begin to hackle the fly. I'm going to take 3 or 4 good wraps, equally spaced if possible. It's such a big hackle, I'm not using my hackle pliers. And it looks good. Very good. Okay. Secure that. Clip off your excess. I mat the hackle fibers down, and sometimes I'll even zip off the top of the hackles just to have a nice landing strip for this when I pull this over. So a little bit of review for the thorax. We tied our wing case material in, and it's dark brown, indicating that this fly is about to emerge shortly because their wing cases get very dark. We attached our hackle, and the hackle was used for the legs, as you could see. And then we built our fur blend body up the same color as what we used for the abdomen. We used this olive brown mix that I just put together. And now we're ready. And then we wrap the hackle through the thorax, and now we're ready to pull the wing case over. And make sure it's centered over the top of the entire thorax. Looking good, looking good. Anchor that, or attach, tie that down. I'm going to clip this, not clean. I'm going to clip it, maybe a good 1/8 of an inch or so past the eye of the hook just before I tie the knot. Okay. Okay, guys, this fly is 99% done. Now I'm going to fan this excess material out and kind of clip the center of it out, just to give it a little, those tusks are pronounced on this fly, and it's going to look something like that. So now take your needle, your dubbing needle, and draw out some of the fur blend in between the hackle, but be extremely careful. Again, if you have a sharp dubbing needle like I do, you don't want to hit the stem of the hackle. Just take your time and draw out your fibers. Gosh, this is looking good. Looking real good. And just, I like to press it flat. And yeah, now we're ready for a drop of head cement on the eye, around the eye of the thorax and the abdomen, and a little bit on the wing case. And just kind of smear that over. Guys, this fly is ready to fish. All done. I'll try to angle it without the articulated part moving, but you get a great idea what this fly is going to look like, or what it does look like. And I'll tell you, it's ready to fish, guys. So try to get out in this hatch. This fly is the answer to many more strikes. I believe so. I've experienced it firsthand, and yeah, definitely add this to your arsenal. I just want to thank you so much for joining me in this episode of the Fly of the Week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next. If you like the content I'm pushing out, please subscribe. Tight lines, guys.